Hi, first graders. In today's social studies lesson, you will learn about the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence is a very important document about America's declaring independence or freedom from the King of England. With the signing of the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776, the United States was born. 4th of July, or Independence Day, is celebrated as America's birthday. So the Declaration of Independence, it stands for the rights and freedom of all Americans. My name is Thomas Jefferson. I wrote the Declaration of Independence. Later, I was the third president of the United States. To me, the Declaration of Independence was more important than being president. Its bold words helped the United States of America become a free nation. Listen to this exciting story. What is the Declaration of Independence? The Declaration of Independence was written during the Revolutionary War. Now, revolution, it means a change in government. Now, during this Revolutionary War, Americans fought to break free from Great Britain. The document explains America's rights. It says government officials should protect those rights. It also says the United States of America is a free nation. Taxes, tea, and trouble. A group of people from Great Britain arrived in North America in the 1600s. They chose to settle there. By about 1770, 2.5 million people lived in 13 colonies along the East Coast. Great Britain's king ruled them. Many colonists believed the king's laws were unfair. When the king ordered a change in the tax on tea, the colonists fought back. In December 1773, a large group of colonists dressed as Native Americans dumped 342 crates of British tea into the Boston Harbor. This event was later called the Boston Tea Party. Fight for freedom. The colonists' actions angered the king, so the king ordered even tougher laws. On September 5th, 1774, a group of colonists met to talk about the problems between Great Britain and the colonies. This meeting was called the First Continental Congress. The men wanted peace with Great Britain. However, peace would not come for many years. On April 19th, 1775, British soldiers arrived in Lexington, Massachusetts. Colonial soldiers were waiting for them. A shot was fired. The Revolutionary War had begun. Author of Freedom. Nearly a year later, on June 11, 1776, the Second Continental Congress met in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The men decided it was time to break away from Great Britain. They wanted to form a new nation. They asked 5 men to create an important document. The group chose Thomas Jefferson to write it. The document would later be called the Declaration of Independence. Once finished, it would help the colonists gain their freedom from Great Britain. The finished document. Jefferson worked on the document for less than 17 days. Then he showed it to the Continental Congress. They argued and made many changes to it. But on July 4th, 1776, the Continental Congress approved the Declaration of Independence. Congress printed copies of the document. Horseback riders handed out the copies to people in all the colonies. As people read the Declaration of Independence, many shouted for joy. Americans would work together to gain their freedom. The message. The beginning of the Declaration of Independence describes why it was written. It says that when people must go against their government, they should explain why. Next, the document states some of the most powerful ideas about human rights ever written. It states that all people are created equal and everyone has natural rights. Those rights include life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The document explains how people form governments to protect those rights. Sometimes the government fails to protect the people's rights. Then the people have the right to change the government. Free and independent. The document also blames Great Britain's king for failing to protect the colonists' rights. It lists examples of how the king had treated the colonists unfairly. At the end, the document declares the colonies free and independent states. It says they have all the powers of a free nation. Model for a nation. Throughout the years, people have looked at the Declaration of Independence as a model. Its words have helped others in their own fight for rights. In 1848, Elizabeth Cady Stanton fought for women's rights. She used the Declaration of Independence as a guide to write her own document. It states that women have the same rights as men. During the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln gave his Gettysburg Address. In this famous speech, he told Americans to remember the words of the Declaration of Independence. In 1963, Martin Luther King Jr. fought for Black people's rights. He spoke of the Declaration of Independence. "I have a dream," he said, "that all men are created equal." Seeing the Declaration of Independence. Today, visitors can see the Declaration of Independence. It is kept in the National Archives building in Washington, D.C. The famous document is displayed in a large bulletproof case along with the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Now, at night, it is lowered 22 feet into a vault and locked inside. Americans celebrate their country's birthday on July 4th. That is the day Congress approved the Declaration of Independence more than 200 years ago. Today, the Declaration of Independence is a symbol of American struggle for freedom. Now you know this important story.